Sweden, Switzerland. The two countries of the world whose names begin with SW. Two well-developed, often highly regarded, relatively wealthy nations. In this video, we will compare the two nations by looking at their key demographics, economies, geography, infrastructure, quality of life, and of course, along the way, we will throw in some interesting facts. Then, once we've compared them, we will ask you which one you would rather live in and which one you would just rather visit. I'm your host Sam, and you're watching the Geography Bible. Alright, as always, let's kick off this comparison by first taking a look at where both of these countries are located geographically. So Switzerland is a mountainous Central European country, home to numerous lakes, villages, and the high peaks of the Alps. Its capital city is Bern. Sweden is a Northern European Scandinavian nation with thousands of coastal islands and inland lakes, along with vast forests and glaciated mountains. Its capital city is Stockholm. Okay, so now let's move on to their key demographics, starting off with their populations and population densities. Starting off with the least populated out of the two, we have Switzerland, with a population of around 8.7 million, ranking them as the 101st most populated nation on Earth, behind Israel and above Togo. And just above Switzerland, we have Sweden in 91st place, with a population of around 10.1 million, placing them above Honduras and below Azerbaijan. Switzerland is around 10 times more densely populated than Sweden, with around 211 people per kilometre squared, compared to Sweden, which has around 22.7. Both of their populations are growing ever so slightly, at 0.74% for Switzerland and 0.63% for Sweden. The average Swede is just over 1 year younger on average than your average Swiss, at 41.2 and 42.4 years, respectively, so not too different. When it comes to average life expectancy, both of these countries perform exceedingly well, especially Switzerland. Switzerland's life expectancy ranks them as the 4th highest in the world, only behind Hong Kong, Japan, and Macau, two of which are special administrative regions of China. Sweden sits in a very respectable 13th place at 83.3 years, placing them above France and below Israel. Unsurprisingly, Stockholm is Sweden's most populated city, with a population of around 1.5 million, followed by Göteborg and Malmö, with 600,000 and 317,000 respectively. Zurich is Switzerland's most populated city, with around 422,000 inhabitants, followed by Geneva with 204,000 and Basel with 174,000. Bern, the capital city, sits in 5th place with around 135,000. Sweden is the 16th most populated country in Europe and Switzerland the 22nd. By 2050, Sweden is predicted to reach a population of around 12.4 million and Switzerland 10.4 million. Alright, time for some geography. This should be interesting. For this, we'll first hop over to our favourite website, thetruesize.com. You guys know how it works. We grab both countries from the map and drag them to the equator so we can see their true sizes respective of each other in a non-distorted manner. The further north or south on a map that a country is, the more distorted it is on a map. As Sweden is located in Northern Europe, it is heavily distorted. On a map it looks gigantic, but when we pull it down to the equator it appears much smaller and is satisfyingly similar in size to Madagascar. Sweden is around 450,000 kilometers squared in total. Switzerland, which already looks rather small on a map, becomes even smaller once it has been pulled down to the equator. It is completely and utterly dwarfed by Sweden and many of the African nations. Its total size is just 41,000 kilometers squared. Sweden is the 5th largest country in Europe and is the largest of the Scandinavian bloc. Located in Northern Europe, it has land borders with Norway in the west and Finland in the northeast, while sharing maritime borders with Germany, Poland, Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Sweden enjoys around 3,200 kilometers of coastline, much of it in the Baltic Sea. The landscape of Sweden is dotted with hills, mountains, streams and lakes, the largest of which is Lake Vänern. On the Norwegian border is the Scandinavian mountain chain, which hosts the highest peak in Sweden. This peak, known as Kebnekaise, reaches 2,100 meters in height. Sweden has a total of 25 provinces, the northernmost being Lapland. The province extends well into the Arctic Circle, and parts of it have been named as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. As mentioned earlier, Stockholm is the capital of Sweden and is the most populated city in the Nordic region. The cultural, political and economic centre of Sweden, Stockholm is interestingly spread across 14 islands that are part of the Stockholm archipelago. Switzerland, on the other hand, is a landlocked country that shares borders with France to the west, Germany in the north, Austria and Liechtenstein in the east, and Italy in the south. The geography of Switzerland can be divided into three regions: the Jura, the Plateau, and the Alps. The Jura is a limestone range that makes up 12% of the surface area of Switzerland. This area also covers parts of France. The plateau accounts for 30% of Switzerland's surface area. It also hosts 2/3 of the population. It is relatively flat. Then the Swiss Alps are an incredibly famous part of Switzerland's geography. This range has an average altitude of 1,700 meters. There are 48 mountains in this part of the country. Now this is where it should get even more interesting: economy and financial statistics. Okay, so before we start, which country do you think has a higher GDP? At the time of writing this script, I actually don't know myself. I'm going to guess Switzerland. So with the 18th largest economy on earth, we have the Swiss, with a GDP of around 824 billion, putting them above Saudi Arabia and below the Netherlands. Seriously impressive considering that they are the 101st most populated country in the world. Sweden, on the other hand, sits in 23rd place with a GDP of around 625 billion, putting them below Poland and above Belgium. Again, seriously impressive considering how low their populations are compared to other countries in the top 25. Another impressive win for Switzerland is when it comes to the GDP per capita, ranking as the 6th highest in the world at an estimated $95,000. Yes, you heard that right. Above Ireland and below the Cayman Islands. Sweden ranks as the 16th highest in the world at around $59,000, putting them below the Aussies and above the Dutch. In Sweden, you will find around 1.6% of the workforce in agriculture, 33% in industry, and 65.4% in services. Switzerland, on the other hand, is looking at 0.7% in agriculture, about a quarter of the population in industry, and a remarkable 73.7% in services. The main reason why Switzerland is so damn rich is that it's renowned for having a strong and varied export market. Pharmaceuticals, gems, chemicals, and machinery are the main contributors. Another key factor is Switzerland's focus on its own industries. Astonishingly, around 27.3% of the population of Zurich are millionaires. In many ways, Zurich is Geneva's German-speaking counterpart. It is the largest and richest city in Switzerland, and although not as prominent on the international political scene, it is just as influential in the world of finances and banking. You may have heard of many rich people having Swiss bank accounts. This is because they have high levels of privacy, which prevents the law from investigating payments and funds, which is something that the mega rich are very conscious about apparently. The last time Sweden took part in a war was 1814, benefiting from relative peace for more than 200 years. It also profited from exporting its iron and other raw materials to Germany during the Second World War. Basically, Sweden is wealthy thanks to relative peace, social security, its openness and liberal approach to trade and doing business, a modern society, and great cultural values. Sweden has around 41 billionaires, that's around 3 per 1 million people, with the richest being Stefan Persson with a net worth of around $20 billion. Switzerland sits just below in 17th place, with around 4 billionaires per 1 million people. Ernesto Bertarelli is the richest man in the country with a net worth of around 18.6 billion. I wonder if he has a Swiss bank account or two. Okay, now time for some infrastructure, statistics and facts. Let's start off with their tallest buildings. So Sweden takes the win here, standing at 190 meters tall. Malmö's turning torso is the tallest building in Sweden and Scandinavia for that matter. Standing 12 meters shorter, we have the Rochturm building in Switzerland. However, it must be noted that the Rochturm Tower 2, which is under construction and due to be completed in 2022, will eclipse Sweden's tallest building as it will stand at 205 meters tall. Once completed, this would make it the 18th tallest building in the EU. Sweden's longest bridge is the Öresund Bridge, which connects it to Denmark and runs 7,845 meters, 5,300 meters of which is in Sweden. Switzerland, on the other hand, is home to the longest pedestrian suspension bridge in the world. Spanning an incredible 1,600 feet and rising as high as 280 feet, the newly opened Charles Kouonen Suspension Bridge has broken the record for the world's longest pedestrian suspension bridge. The bridge offers hikers views of the Matterhorn. Would you walk across this bridge? I would love to. Switzerland's road network is around 73,000 kilometers long. They have around 5,200 kilometers of railway and 7 international airports. Sweden, on the other hand, has around 138,000 kilometers of public roads and around 15,000 kilometers of railway, which comes to no surprise as Sweden is the much larger country. Sweden is also home to around 20 international airports. And finally, Switzerland has the 4th fastest broadband in the world and the 13th fastest cellular speeds. Sweden has the 16th and 21st respectively. So rather impressive from both nations and expected as they are both wealthy and well developed. Alright, and now time for the final section, quality of life, a section where both nations seriously excel. According to the website Numbeo, which ranks countries based on many different factors, Switzerland actually ranks as a country with the highest quality of life in the world. Sweden comes in a respectable 13th place. When it comes to the healthcare index, Switzerland ranks as the 16th highest in the world, behind the UK and above Israel. Sweden comes in a less respectable 33rd place, behind Argentina and above the United Arab Emirates. For the crime index, Switzerland ranks as the 6th safest country in the world, below Oman and above Hong Kong. Sweden, remarkably, sits in 84th place, a very surprising result. This is a combination of traffic commute times and CO2 emissions. Switzerland ranks as the 8th best in the world, followed by Sweden in 15th place. It's yet another win for the Swiss. The average wage in Switzerland is around $66,500 per year, ranking them as the 3rd highest in the world. Sweden sits in again 15th place with around $46,700. A 1-bedroom apartment in the city centre in Switzerland on average will set you back around $1,600. A 3-bedroom apartment outside of the centre and you're looking at $2,300. Sweden, on the other hand, will set you back around $860 and $1,460 respectively. So in Switzerland, you're looking at around 29% of the average salary going into a 1-bedroom city centre apartment and around 41% on a 3-bedroom apartment outside the city centre, compared to 22% and 38% respectively for Sweden. So higher wages but higher living costs in Switzerland. So there we have it. Now it's your turn. Which country would you rather live in and which one would you rather just visit? Let us know in the comments below. We love reading your comments. And while you are there, let us know which cities or countries we should do next. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to drop a like. And if you love learning about cities and countries and geography from around the world, consider subscribing. It is completely free and we've got plenty more to come. And if you want, you can unsubscribe at any time. Thanks again for watching and we will see you very soon in the next video.